Welcome to It's an Arsenal Thing podcast, and we're going to cover the North London derby. With me are the podcateers in the gun room. It's a very large gun room. It goes as far as Barcelona, but Jay's up first. How are you, Jay?
Very well, thank you. Very well.
What you been up to? Anything much?
No, just standard working and getting frustrated by Arsenal and just
Well, that's a given, isn't it?
yeah.
Lauren, how are you?
Yeah, all good here. Thank you. All good.
Goody good. Well, Podders, we will crack on with North London Derby. There's a lot to kind of go through. In many ways, it wasn't the performance we kind of expected after the PSV result, but we got what we were given. And as we were talking off air, Jay said quite poignantly that it's a better draw for Tottenham than it was for Arsenal. So the North London derby at the Emirates, and Spurs had failed to get a result at the Emirates or Highbury for 30 matches. We like that. Arsenal had won 4 of their last 5 Premier League matches against Tottenham, and Arsenal were looking to win 3 consecutive league games against Spuds for the first time since a run of 5 between 1987 and 1989. Right, let's not waste any time. Let's get into the team selection. It was a 4-3-3. We'll get to various parts of that. David Raya in goal instead of Ramsdale. White, Saliba, Gabriel, Zinchenko, Odegaard, Rice, Fabio Vieira, which I was quite pleased to see. Martin Odegaard, Declan Rice, Fabio Vieira, Bukayo Saka, Eddie Nketiah, and Gabriel Jesus. No Partey, no Trossard, no Martinelli. A front 3 with Jesus out on the left. Was that the right decision, Jay?
I think obviously not seeing Trossard there was a big surprise. And obviously Jesus had played there for City, so we knew he could do a job there. But I suppose most of us were a bit concerned about how imbalanced we'd be. You know, with normally our wingers are so have been so effective, Martinelli and Saka especially. And I just wondered how Jesus would fit into that mold. And I thought he did all right on the day. But I think, you know, losing both Martinelli and Trossard, 2 players who have been good this season, and especially Trossard as well, who's really hit some form, was a big loss. And it's testing the squad. You know, a few weeks back, we had a really deep bench where we were all really pleased with the squad. And now, you know, it's a bit thin, isn't it? And we're you know, especially we're in a tough run of games now, games every 3 or 4 days. So the squad's really going to be tested. So yeah, it was the right thing to do. I suppose the only other option was maybe Havertz, or play Havertz as the 8 and push Vieira maybe wide, or Smith Rowe could really come in, but he hasn't played at all really this season. So I suppose it was the right decision.
It's the old thing. He hasn't had a sniff, Potters. Not a sniff. Lauren, Raya got the nod again. Is it safe to assume that he's the number 1 based on maturity and his confidence to play out from the back?
I don't think so yet. I think it's still very early days. I think we're going to have to see what else he produces. I think honestly the big challenge for him was he able to keep, a clean sheet at home, and obviously it's a tough competition, or tough team going up against Spurs at home, a very heightened derby in terms of matches he could come into. But I think the biggest concern with Ramsdale at the moment is the amount of goals that he's leaking at home, and I think that position's still very much open, and it definitely is going to come down to performance at the end of the day. And I don't believe that we've seen the last of Ramsdale as Arsenal's number 1. I don't believe that at all. I think he's far too good to just be dropped. But yeah, I just do feel like Arteta was giving him a fair run of games to test himself out. I think the big question is going to be, who starts against City in 2 weeks' time, to see who really has the Arteta's trust in that moment. But I think it was more just a test to see who was the keeper that we should be going with going forward at home. And we had a good save here and there, but overall I wasn't any more impressed with him than I have been with Ramsdale over the past few games. And I think it's a battle that's wide open. I don't think any decision has been, I don't think a clear winner has come out on top yet from what we've seen. So it's interesting. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. I just hope that there isn't too much disruption in, honestly, from the media more than anything, in regards to what's going on between the posts for us. But have to wait and see.
But the thing is, right, we had Turner. He obviously wasn't up to scratch, and now we've got two really good goalkeepers. So what's the problem, Podders? I mean, you can pontificate till you're blue in the face, but the fact is we've got depth in that position, which is what Mikel was after. He's being a bit cagey about his thoughts about who he selects and when he selects them. Links again to Ivan Toney. We'll go through that story. That may have some legs a little bit later. What annoyed me about this game, as I said to Jay before we came on air, was the lack of intensity at times. We failed to match the levels of the previous North London derbies. We looked a bit one-dimensional, lost possession a lot. Jay, give us your assessment of what you saw. What did you like and what didn't you like?
Yeah, I mean, we weren't at our best. There's no doubt about that. You know, I do wonder if the game in midweek against PSV, where it was so slick and so our passing was so crisp and sharp, and we were pressing off the ball was really, really good straight from the first whistle. I just wonder if that played a part in the lack of intensity slightly. You know, was it a bit of a hangover? Because, you know, with this squad, with the manager, this is a new period. You know, I know some of the players have played Champions League, but the squad as a unit haven't, and this is something that we've got to manage. To have such an intense game after an intense game, did we show a little bit of a lack of, I don't know, you know, the ability to handle situation? I hope not. I just wondered if the big game played a part in that. And yeah, our passing wasn't as good, but saying that, we had chances, and we could have been, and we probably should have been out of sight by halftime, having not even hit top gear. We missed some chances. We didn't capitalize. We weren't clinical. And saying that, we still should have been ahead by, I know we did take the lead, but we conceded a soft goal for me. Good finish by Son, but it was a soft goal. We should have defended better. Saka was done far too easy. And I think, like, I just reiterate what I said to you before we came on, Tom. I think Spurs were better than I expected them to be, and we were worse than I expected us to be. And I think a combination of that, I know it's quite an obvious thing to say, but a combination of those two things meant that it was, the overreaction that I've seen from the media for in relation to Spurs. I think they've been, they're not Spursy anymore, or they're not this, they're not that. That, it's far too early to say that. I think that's just based on the fact that we didn't really play as well as we could, as well as we probably should. And Spurs were a bit better. And I think there was a lot of talk before the game about Spurs having one sort of approach, like an all-out attack. And they didn't really do that. They didn't. They defended pretty well, and they passed the ball well, and I think they surprised a few, and we just didn't really get going. It was frustrating, really, really frustrating day, because we are better than that. And I expected us before the game to just blow them away, and it was frustrating that we didn't do that.
Well, Paul Merson did as well, didn't he? He said, "Well, he doesn't really didn't think that Spurs could live with us, but they did." What's Postecoglou done? I did that bit because I've had trouble pronouncing his name for about a week now. What's he done differently? He's lost Harry Kane, and yet they still seem to. They've brought the best out of Son again, haven't they?
He's
For sure.
Yeah, he's stepped up. Son has stepped up, and he's signed. I think they've got a goalkeeper. They've got a number of players that have sort of flew under the radar. Obviously, Maddison's a big signing. He's obviously going to do well. We know what we're going to get with him. He's a good player. There's no doubt about that. He's a good player. And then I think they've made some clever signings. I think Brennan Johnson's decent from Forest. Thought although he didn't have the greatest of games, he's a good signing, promising player. And they've made some good signings. I think he's also instilling a bit of a slightly more positive culture at the club. They're a lot more. They play on the front foot. They're a lot less defensive as they were under Conte and Mourinho. And then the fans obviously are buying into this because they're enjoying the football, and they're getting results. I know there's only been a few games of the season gone. So there's a good feel. There's a feel good factor around the club, and you could definitely sense that with the squad. The same as it was for us last season. You know, like we were straight from the off last season. We were on the front foot, and we were definitely in a positive mentality, in a positive position. So I think that's where they are, and I think that obviously affected the game. And Postecoglou ultimately, I mean, keep in mind it was a low bar that was set by Conte. You know, like he couldn't have made it any worse. You know, so he's improved things there. Unfortunately, it'll all go tits up though. It'll all go tits up.
Possible. It's Tottenham, isn't it? It's a Tottenham thing. We'll say that. Lauren Maddison played. Hello, Neil. By the way, Neil's just snuck into the bottom corner. How are you, mate?
I'm not too bad, thanks. A little bit of back pain, but I'm all right.
Mr. Mute.
How you all doing? All right.
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad, mate. Nice to see you. Nice to have you on board. Lauren Maddison, he was rumoured to be going to Arsenal. That would have settled us quite nicely. We would have had that, but it didn't go through. He's just really hitting the gears with Tottenham, isn't he?
He is. I mean, you could even see at Leicester, he was their main man, and I think tough time for Leicester last season, but even then you could see the quality he has, and you know, he's brought so much to that team, and I think I honestly would echo everything that Jay said there. Things are really positive there at the moment for them. I hate to say it, I'm kind of a big fan of Big Ange as well. I think he's doing a great job there. I think he's really instilling a really positive and, you know, almost a proactive approach to. He's very open and honest, and I just really like his approach. I hate to say it, I really do, but I can't lie about it, you know. And I think
any manager that loses their star striker straight away before the season kicks off, I mean, that's a big blow, and he's just
100%.
Yeah, it's all right.
Exactly, but you know, it doesn't look like they're missing Harry Kane. They, as you both said, they're getting the best out of the team that they have. Everything seems to be working really well, and I think Maddison has been a huge signing for them. He was really good. He was really good on Sunday. Probably one of the best players on the pitch. I think he got player of the match if I'm not mistaken. You know, I'm sure we'll have a few things to say about that, but I was really impressed with him, and I think it was one of those things where you kind of look at a sign and that another team get, and you think, God, if only we had got that, maybe that would solve a few issues that we have currently in, you know, that position that we're dealing with at the moment. But look, we didn't get him. We can't dwell too much on that. He had a great game, and look, Spurs celebrate an awful lot, and we're hurting a lot from a draw. Obviously, we're the team at home, and we are the better team overall, but what can you do about it, really? Just learn from it and move on, and you know, that's all we can really do, I guess.
Neil, we've only just scratched the surface of the match, the atmosphere, and we're just going through the motions. What was your opinion of the match as a whole? We'll cover it in detail, obviously, but
to be honest, now looking at the whole picture, I was glad we got a point. I'll be quite honest. I mean, it's hard to take. You always want to beat Spurs, especially at home, and we've had such a good record against them. And it would have been, Arteta would have been the first manager in a while to win 4 home games in a trot against them. So you know, it would have been quite nice to seal that. But I don't, you know, it's like chalk and cheese. You look at the performance against PSV. I thought that was one of the most flawless performances I've seen in a long time with our team, with our squad. It was unbelievable. Everything went right, you know, including down to the substitutions, the effort, the intensity, everything was perfect. And, you know, people are saying that, oh, yeah, but PSV are not a good side. Well, they are, because they've come off a run of 26 unbeaten games in all competitions. They're not a rubbish side. I don't think any side is a rubbish side in the Champions League. So for us to go and do what we did to them, yeah, albeit it was at home, but still, it was a magnificent performance. And then you come to this, you know, Sunday, and there was so much expectation. I actually thought we were going to win. I thought we were going to win about 2 or 3-1, and you know, I just don't think we flowed. We didn't tick as well as we had done against PSV. Maybe you know, it's a bit of a shock to the system, to the players, because it's the first time that we've been back in the Champions League, and then we're having to play another a top tier Premiership game, you know, 4 days later, whatever it is. There could have been a bit of fatigue, a bit of nerves. I don't know. Maybe a little bit of even a bit of complacency, maybe in some cases. I thought we started off well, and then after that, we just seemed to just. I thought we were sloppy. I don't think we were as focused as we should have been. You know, that's epitomised by Jorginho and what he did. And look, I don't want to get on anyone's back, but you know, to be honest, the player with that experience, or a player with his experience, and he had loads of time, no pressure, he should have been able to get rid of that ball a lot easier than what he did. But for me, I'll tell you what the turning point was. For me, the turning point was Jesus' miss when Maddison messed up. And it says a lot about Maddison getting player of the match when he made an error like that and he still got player of the match. So, you know, obviously he did a lot of good things, but it just goes to show that was there any other real quality on the pitch apart from that, or consistent? And I'm afraid to say no. So for me, the Jesus miss opportunity was a massive turning point. So if we'd gone 2-0 up, I think we would have seen a different game completely. The other turning point for me is Rice's injury, because when he went off, they were able to exploit more space because he's been so good at what he does. So I think they were two real massive areas where it didn't work for us on the day. Nketiah, again, we can talk about him. There's so many talking points, but I am actually now, and I've thought about it, and it's been a few days later, I'm actually thinking, wow, we were actually done all right to get a point, because we could have easily lost that game in the end.
So, yeah, I totally. Well, we were talking about Declan Rice. I mean, he's a phenomenal presence, isn't he? And he does a lot of the donkey work as well. You know, getting back, pinching the ball off a toe, and getting us moving again. So that was a big miss for us. Yeah, it was just a hugely disappointing letdown, a sort of Champions League hangover, Jay. That's what I felt was we did so well. I would say that PSV game is the best performance of the season by a country mile.
Yeah, absolutely. It was like Neil said, it was a really enjoyable performance and everything went well. We got ahead, you know, we got 2 or 3 goals ahead, and Arteta was able to make the substitutions that he needed to with the North London derby coming up, and it was all going so well. You can't help but think, with not having a really clinical striker, you know, it's going to hamper us, isn't it? And when it really, really matters, you know, like if Jesus scores that chance where he robs Maddison, even by not playing too, you can't see Spurs getting back in that, or it's going to be a real uphill struggle for them to get back in the game. And he just snapped at it, didn't he? He didn't even, he could have steadied himself, and he could have picked his spot, and he just leant back and put his foot through the ball and skied it over. And I think we all, you know, you knew you can't miss chances like that. Not at this level, not in the North London derby where both teams are unbeaten. Both teams have had relatively good starts to the season. Spurs obviously perceived to have a better start than us because they've come from a bit further back than obviously we did last year. But Champions League was great, and it is going to, like I said earlier, it is going to be, it's new ground, isn't it, for the manager and this squad. It's a new era to try and manage through it. You kind of just wanted a slightly less intense game after that first Champions League game. But look, I'm definitely in agreement with you, Neil, not to lose that, because there was a few occasions at the end when Kulusevski was dribbling the ball into the box, and you could see from the camera angle, you can see him bending it in that corner. You know, the fatalist in me was, you know, like fearing the worst, but I was glad that we didn't lose, obviously. But in hindsight, the home team, after leading twice, you've got to be a bit disappointed. But look, we didn't lose, which is the main thing, I suppose.
Well, it's funny you say that. I mean, I remember looking. It was in the final 10 minutes, and Nketiah was at the back post, and that ball came in, and I thought if that had been Ian Wright, that would have been a goal. He was just 2 feet away from it, and he failed to move. He failed to see that opportunity. Lauren, let's go for this Ivan Toney rumor, 60 million in January. I think we've got to have a different option. As we said last week, what we're doing is we're going down the flanks. Well, we're not taking these opportunities, but we're going down the flanks, and we're incredible at it. And we've talked about the White and Odegaard and Saka sort of link up. and Martinelli down on the left. But we just seem to we don't have it in the middle as well. I liked certain parts where in recent games we've had a player on the edge of the box and they've looked like a threat. They could come in and that ball comes out, but we don't do it enough, do we? So is Ivan Toney a realistic target for us, considering his old, Betfred scandal?
It's an interesting one. I think in terms of what we need is definitely, I mean, look, after the game that we just witnessed, there's no denying that if we want to even be within, I can't speak today, within,
carry on, Lauren.
Reaching touch. I can't think of the word I'm trying to say, but to be within reaching distance, I think is what I'm trying to say, with City, to be up there with them, to, to be competing with them the way we did last season. We need someone who's going to start scoring goals and converting chances, because it's not good enough to be relying on penalties or to be relying on a bit of luck when a ball's deflected into the net, because at the moment it's looking really dire. And it just, even Saka, it doesn't really look like he's the same, clinical player that he was this time last year. And it's getting a bit frustrating having all that possession and looking, great passes here and there, but nothing's really going in for us. And I think, to be completely honest, something needs to change coming up to January. Maybe some of our players get form and that's fine, but I think long-term solution is definitely get a player in. Whether Ivan Toney is the right player or not, to be honest, I'm not 100% sure. I think Arteta probably doesn't want somebody with that sort of scandal coming into the club, to be completely honest. I think that's a massive point. And obviously he's an amazing player. He's probably, now that Harry Kane's gone, one of the, probably second best striker. If not, he's up there in top 3 strikers, proven strikers in the league. He'd be a great player to get, absolutely. But I just think in terms of attitude and past scandals and everything that's gone on, I don't know 100% if he's the player that Arteta will want to bring into the team. And I think that's the issue with, not the issue with this, with the rumor, but I just think it's a pretty unlikely signing that we're going to get him in January. That's just my opinion towards it. I don't really believe it yet. I think there's a lot of talk going on around it. I think, he's probably a player Chelsea are going to go in for. They're probably going to outbid us. And I think that's probably the story that we're happy to go along with, and then have our eye out for option B, option C, which hopefully, I really can't speak today. Like with what happened with Trossard, we might see the same thing happen where, option B, C, D ends up being the better option for us. And if that happens, that's absolutely fine. But I think it's absolutely undeniable now at this stage that in order to be a serious title contender, to look to go forward and to push the big teams, we really need to get people in who are going to finish those chances. Because look, we can focus on Nketiah, we can focus on Jesus. They had clear and obvious, chances that they didn't take. But I think Saka needs to really also be examined from that game, because he had so much space, apart from that PSV game that we saw during the week. I can't remember a Premier League game where he had so much space to exploit and to get in ahead of his fullback, and he just didn't take it. We've said it already, it doesn't really seem like the Arsenal teams got out of second gear, third gear, and this was definitely one of those games where it just looked like we stalled every time we tried to push. So I don't know what it is. Maybe it's a change of personnel, maybe it's a more clinical striker up front, but I think overall just something's not really clicking. And I think in terms of defense, the defense that we have right now, the back four, they're probably the best option we have. So it's going to have to be looking at the midfield and looking predominantly at the front three that we have, because it's just not working right now. And yeah, I think definitely a January fresh up is needed. It seems so far away, but look, let's see what happens in the meantime, and hope we can pull something out in the meantime and be able to compete with the rest.
Well, it's mentioning Nketiah, Neil. He's mentioned in the deal for Ivan Toney. He is a predatory striker, of course, and he does score goals in the biggest league in the world, I would call it. But I don't know whether it's youth or inexperience at the top level that is costing him, because he just falls short of that clinical edge that you need in a top flight team.
I'll be honest with you guys, cards on the table. With me, when a player puts the show on and wears the cannon, I will support them 100%, no matter what the situation. I always find it very counterproductive, and it's just not. It's if you sit there and slag players off. Sorry to use that word, but if you do that, especially during a game, a live game, and if players are getting booed, it's self-defeating, it's counterproductive, and I never do that. But then, end of the day, look, we're fans, we're passionate about the club, we love the club, we want it to do well, and we want the best for the club. And there's obviously certain players that we kind of get attached to, and we would hate to see go. But when all this is said and done, we want what's best for the club. And I've always felt with Nketiah, he's never been quite at the level that we need, not for where this team is going. Then I kind of changed my mind. We had that spell when he filled in for Jesus last season. He did pretty well, to be fair to him. And then again, he dropped off again. And I thought, okay, he's not consistent enough. And then again, he had a couple of good moments this season. And then again on the North London derby, I just didn't see a player there, which really should be doing a lot better for me. Now, you talk about inexperience. No, he's had loads of chances as far as I'm concerned. He's had more chances than some of the other poor guys that are not getting a go. Emil Smith-Rowe, Nelson, Trossard even now. I'm sorry. I think he's had enough chances. And again, I'm not trying to get on his back. I just think he'll probably, for his career, he'll probably be better off at another club. And I don't know what that looks like, whether it's another Premiership club, whether it's abroad. I don't know. But for me, it's never quite worked. It's never quite fit. He's not been the right missing piece of the jigsaw for me up front. Again, this is just my opinion, and I've always said, what do I know? It's just the fans' perspective. I don't know about Tony. I don't get involved in the gossip or who may come in or may go out. I never do it because I got my fingers burnt a long, long time ago, and I was adamant. I used to be well into this gossip transfer stuff, and I used to do a lot of reading on it before the days of all this technology and stuff. And I would look at CFAX, teletext, and the gossip columns.
Oh,
and
you're
all
going
of that.
back some nil.
Oh yeah. Well, come on.
Get your holiday off of CFAX.
Come on, Tom. Look at the Greys. Come on. And then a certain West London club would go and pitch our deal in the last minute, and I'm thinking, that's it. It's for me done. I will not celebrate or talk about a player until they're actually wearing the shirt, running around the pitch. So, I'm not going to say too much about Tony. I just feel now the guys that I do the other podcasts with quite rightly said to me, look, we scored 88 goals without an out-and-out striker last season. And they're right. We did. We were phenomenal. We were. But even, and they were kind of changing my mind, thinking, all right, maybe we don't need an out-and-out striker. But I do feel we had a perfect one in Giroud. In the sense that Giroud was a great goal scorer. He never scored rubbish goals, but he was so good at holding the ball up. And what did we do? We got rid of him and kept Welbeck. I've never understood that decision. We should have got rid of Welbeck and kept Giroud, because Giroud, I think he genuinely wanted to stay at Arsenal. And all right, he may not have been happy coming on as a sub now and again, but I think he liked the club, and I think he wanted to stay. And I think that was a mistake. But this is not a Giroud topic. I'm just saying that kind of player I think we need to give us that extra option. Yes, we've got great players in Martinelli, Trossard, Saka, Jesus, of course. But have we got clinical goal scorers? Apart from maybe when Saka does it, when Odegaard maybe is on form and he puts the ball in the net. Trossard as well, he's shown it. But no, we need someone more consistent. We need someone strong, someone who's going to really battle off those defenders. Because in the Premiership, you're going to get strong, big defenders. We need someone. For me, the ideal up-front striker is a Drogba kind of player. And I hate to say it because he always scored against us, and I never liked him. But I really feel that is. I don't know who that is. I don't know what that looks like. I don't know how much it's going to cost. But I just feel we've always missed that, and it would really make a difference by giving us the extra option. We don't have it. I don't think we've ever had it in Nketiah. Jesus is not that kind of player. And I'm afraid Balogun never wanted to stay at Arsenal anyway. So who have we got left? And look at where we are now. I think it's important that we do something in January, because touch wood, they won't get injured. But say if Jesus gets another injury because he's been prone to it, and Nketiah is kind of playing on the form or the levels he's playing now, what do we do? We're going to have a massive problem up there again. So anyway, that's my take on it.
I loved it. Jay, in the second half, I think this game was ultimately in midfield. It was won by Spurs because it was noticeable. He's my god, Martin Odegaard, but he kind of just lost his way in amongst Tottenham pressing forward and coming at us. And to a great degree, I mean, for a big spell of the game, Tottenham were in the ascendancy in that second half, and we just got overrun.
Yeah, he didn't have a great game. None of them did. No. We all know they can play much better than that. I just wanted just wanted to rewind a little bit. When we aren't defending well, it highlights our lack of clinical strikers, if that makes sense. If we defend well against Fulham, there's 2 extra points added to the total for this season. If we defend well, we win the game on Sunday. And then we're not really talking about the strikers. I think it's Nketiah, isn't, and I don't disagree with what you said at all, Neil. I'm with you pretty much 100% on flip-flopping between views on him. But I do think he's an easy player to go to when you've got fan favourites like Saliba, Zinchenko, Ben White and Gabriel. And as well, the goalkeeper, I thought Raya, apart from that one save, his distribution was poor. His decision-making was poor. When there's all these players collectively are having a stinker, it's easier to go to the striker. Now, Jesus and Nketiah, they're not the same type of striker, but they're similar in stature. They, where you would probably class Nketiah as a Franny Jeffers type, if you remember him. The fox in a box type striker. He's not really going to do much outside of the box. He's going to be lively inside the box, and that's what you're going to get. Jesus is more lively, buzzing around, pressuring defenders, trying to capitalize on mistakes. Now, if somebody offered me a Tony, you'd obviously take him because he is more of like a Giroud. He's more of a target man, a bit more of physical. So definitely take him. However, I think I'm not sure how many more goals Tony would score than Jesus or Nketiah. I'm not sure he's that much more clinical. He's done well in a Brentford team, no doubt. But we judge strikers these days by Haaland, don't we? And we've said it a million times. Haaland's just he's the best, and that's what strikers are judged on now. And he scores goals in his sleep. You've got Osimhen. He'll be expensive from Napoli. Victor Osimhen. He's big, powerful, but he would be ridiculously expensive. And I can't see that's a whole transfer budget. One window's budget on one player. And again, I don't know if he's I don't know this for certain. It's just my view. I don't know if he's the type of player that would fit into the squad. Would he be too big time? Would he? I don't know. I just wanted to say, I just think defensively we need to be better if we're going to criticise the strikers. And Jesus' miss was bad. And Nketiah's, to be honest, I can't really remember Nketiah even touching the ball. And there's a lot of performances like that where he can go missing, and his goals, like you said, Neil, last season when Jesus got injured, he came in and he did a good job. And we're all thinking, you're pleasantly surprised because you're not expecting much. But then he'll go 2 or 3 games where he hasn't really even touched the ball. And it's just, I think maybe he would benefit from playing up front in a 2. You remember the old days, 4-4-2, where you'd have a Bergkamp sort of number 10 and Wright or an Elka or whatever will be buzzing around, feeding off passes. You can imagine Nketiah would benefit from that. But that's not going to happen because we don't play that formation or those tactics anymore. So, I think Nketiah as a striker would get him he's a good Premier League striker. He's not going to win you the league. But I also don't think Jesus is going to win you the league. I don't play him through the middle. He's a really good player, really good. But if you're going by goals, he doesn't score enough. And we all know that, and that chance, the chance on, oh God, I must have watched it 100 times, He could have.
Well, you were brave.
I know I said it already, but he could have put it in the corner to the goalie's left, the goalie's right. Anyway, and he just blasted it. So, yeah, I just wanted to say I forgot what the question is, but I just wanted to say the defensively, we need to improve. We need as much as we need to improve from a central striking point of view. Our defense needs to improve. Massive at home. Well, it's like Jekyll and Hyde, isn't it? Because against Everton, I know Everton aren't great. But, even against Palace earlier in the season, we were okay. We did all right. Kept a clean sheet against Everton. And I just thought at home, we just look like there's too much pressure. The players just feeling the pressure too much. And what's that? We conceded against Forest, conceded against Fulham, conceded against Man United, conceded against Spurs. And it needs to stop. And the players are better, aren't they? We can all agree on that. The players are much, much better than this. And I think all I'll say is we haven't hit top form. Our strikers aren't firing. Our defenders aren't playing their best. Yet we're still unbeaten, and we're only, 3 or 4 points behind City. So that I'm choosing to look at it like that.
That's very positive. We like that.
Yeah.
Lauren, it's I think take the PSV game out of the equation, and all the other games have been very, very patchy.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think the question, if I'm remembering correctly, was us in the second half in terms of our midfield versus Spurs. And look, another thing we need to look at
that was it, Podders. She's got
I'm always listening. No, I mean, another thing that we haven't really touched on is, of course, the injuries that we had, and Vieira and Rice coming off. I mean, tough. Obviously, more is probably expected from Jorginho, but look, we can't pick on one player. We can't focus on one mistake that's made throughout the game. We can probably do that for 4 or 5 players, but look, one player doesn't cost you the game. It's a team game, and obviously it was misfortunate and it happened, but you can't overlook the injuries that we had on the day. Our two of our defensive midfielders out. Vieira also coming off. He's been pretty solid for us. He's definitely deserved that start. And then obviously our 2 left wingers as well, Martinelli and Trossard not starting. It was a pretty horrendous injury list when you look at it like that, and I think this just adds to the misfiring, or the it's just not clicking. I don't even have a word for it. It's just not clicking at the moment, and I can't even tell you what it is. Because we did strengthen our squad over the summer. I'll be completely honest with you. I'm really missing Xhaka at the moment. What I'd give for that man to be back in an Arsenal jersey.
I
think it all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, and I think I had the Leverkusen, Munich and Leverkusen game on last Friday when it was on, and I was watching it, and I just thought, he had so much more to give in this Arsenal shirt. Like, it's really tough to see him move on, and they're the kind of players that we need with experience, I think, because he does it for his club, he's done it for his country at that level, and I'm wondering, was it too soon to let him go? And maybe we're trying to blood in too much fresh players at one time, and I've no doubt that they're going to become good, but it's just, we had so much momentum last season. We really, really did. Then obviously Saliba got injured, and we had a few more injuries, and it just feels like we're almost starting, maybe not 100% from the beginning again, but it feels as if there's been a whole reset and everyone's relearning how to do things, and it's just not working at the moment. And I wouldn't point the finger at Arteta and say, oh, you've really messed this up, but it just feels as though it's too much all at once and it's not really gelling. But like Jay said, I think we're 1 point better off than we were last season. It's just the fact that all the teams around us are also on a better run. You can't deny it. Liverpool and Spurs, they've improved immensely since last season. Brighton are right up there. You kind of expect them to be there, maybe not exactly where they are now. And to be honest, who would have thought City would have gone 5 games, 6 games unbeaten? And it's terrifying. I'm absolutely petrified at what this team can go on to achieve, because it honestly looks like no one can stop them. And it just feels like we're a little bit off that pace, and we've kind of lost that momentum that we've had. And yeah, it's tough. But again, it's hard to know what exactly the problem is. And I think that's the most frustrating thing at the moment. As an Arsenal fan, you're watching it, you're kind of going, yeah, but it's not like it was last season, or this is missing, that's missing. But it's just a combination of things, and the teams around us doing better. And it's tough. It's tough to watch. But again, as Jay said, we're not in an awful situation. We're not United. We're not Chelsea. We're 5th. We're unbeaten so far this season. We had a great game back in the Champions League. A lot of young players coming through. Even if it doesn't click this season, I have no doubt that it's going to work eventually, and we're going to be back up there pushing. And you just have to be a bit patient. And obviously, I'm sure we're all in the same boat here. Mikel Arteta hasn't lost any of my faith. I'm still 100% behind him. And whatever happens, and just hope that the only thing you can really hope for is that the players give 100% every time they go out on the pitch, and it just doesn't look like they're doing that at the moment for whatever reason. And I think that's where the frustration stems from, really. I can't remember my question now, Tom. Sorry, I don't know what you asked me.
Don't worry about it. We'll just soldier on. I was on Mark Saggers on Talk TV on Sunday, and we all took a moment to laugh at Chelsea. All 3 of us. There was a Tottenham fan, me, and Mark Saggers, and we were just laughing because they're so far down and it's a mess. And if you had to put money on it, I think Pochettino, if he doesn't get his act in gear, get his arse in gear, I think he's going to be out the door, and that would be massive. Also, stories about Mudryk going on loan. I mean, you know, they're wasting money hand over fist. So when you're criticising Arsenal, Podders, just remember we're getting something right because we are in a good place. Now, Neil, let's get back to Granit Xhaka. I think, yes, we miss him on the pitch, but where we miss him most is in that dressing room.
Yeah, I think if he was around on Sunday, I think our chances would have been a lot better to get the 3 points. I know it sounds crazy, doesn't it? Because at the end of the day, the business is done on the pitch with the feet of ball, with the, with your ball at the feet rather. But I think he was adding so much from a mental perspective and getting into the players' heads and egging them on. Do you remember that game? It was the same reverse fixture, wasn't it? Last season where we went ahead against Spurs and Partey scored that great goal, and then he literally got everyone together straight away. And he said, "Calm down, don't get carried away." And that's what we needed. I just felt that when Saka got the penalty again, this could be controversies around the penalty. So I thought it was a fair decision. So, but in the day, it could have gone either way. However, once we'd done that, we needed to stay focused. And actually, to be fair, although I've been maybe critical of him today, it was Eddie Nketiah that was pointing his temper, saying, "Look, guys, think, focus, don't get carried away." And no one listened to him. And then, we conceded after 30, 40, 50 seconds, I don't know, a minute and 38, I can't remember what it was, but it's ridiculous. And it's little things like that where someone like Xhaka may have made a difference, would have made, because he did have that command and that authority. And I'm not saying Odegaard doesn't, but I think Odegaard's leadership is more about what he leads by example with what he does with his play, whereas you've got Xhaka, who is more maybe commanding with his voice, and we do have that now with Rice, but Rice wasn't on the pitch. And I just want to go back and just touch on a couple of points. You're talking about Odegaard's drop off, but you got to remember he got yellow cards in, and I think he may have been scared to get a red card and get sent off. And maybe because I think up to the yellow card, he was actually doing all right. He was doing the pressing and all this stuff. And it's only after the yellow card, I think we saw a substantial drop off in him. So it could have been that the yellow card was on his mind. And so everything, I think it's just a case of that day, we were just unlucky that things just didn't go our way. We were lucky with Nketiah not getting sent off. I mean, you said he didn't touch the ball. He certainly touched their goalkeeper. And I think he was lucky to stay on, the lad. Because can you imagine if that had been the other way around, we would be discussing this on the pod now, saying that why didn't that guy get sent off? I mean, that he was a lucky boy, very, very lucky. Albeit I know it might have been academic because it was quite late on in the game, but boy, that was a dangerous tackle from where I was sitting and watching the game. So I think we can take bits of both, and I agree with Jay and then what Lauren said. We're not doing that bad. It seems like we're really putting the team down, but we're still unbeaten. We've got, how many points have we got? We got 14 points from 18. Yes, 4 points seems a lot against, in the normal circumstances, it would be easy after 6 games. But against City, that, oh boy, we can't afford to drop any more. I think what it does mean, I think the City game at the Emirates has become almost a must-win. It really has, because if we lose that, that's 7 points behind. And we just can't afford it. So I think either at the very minimum a draw, but I think we've really got to show them that we have made progress. And let's hope that we get most of our players back together for the game. Sorry, I'm going ahead now and not even talking about Xhaka at all. But it's difficult when there was just so much kind of mishmash in that game. It was just very, very bizarre for me. But to answer your question, yeah, we are terribly missing Xhaka. I've heard a lot of people say it, guys, that maybe he should have stayed with us one more season. Definitely.
Well, that shows that me and Jay can't remember the questions, and Lauren and Neil can. It's one of those, isn't it, really? Let's bring you up to date, Podders, with the injury. Apparently, it's Rice has got a back spasm, so he's not thought to be out at all and should play the next match. But Bukayo Saka will probably miss the next match. I'm not sure. I didn't get time to read it up, what the problem is. But he's been played to death, hasn't he? I mean, let's be honest. Right, let's get back to the match. 14 minutes, big save. Saka's deep cross picks out Jesus at the back post. The Brazil international fires towards goal first time. The effort is from an insanely difficult angle. I mean, it has to be struck beautifully to do that. And we did that a couple of times. We were on the angle and we just couldn't finish it off. Let's look at the opener, 26 minutes, goal for Arsenal. It comes from a huge slice of luck as Saka cuts onto his left foot before curling towards goal from the outside of the box. The ball takes it's a deflection of Romero. Is that his name? Couldn't remember his name for a minute. And put us 1-0 up. I mean, there was much made about, luck in this game, Jay. But at that stage, we were on top. No doubt about it. We were in the ascendancy at that point. It didn't last, but...
I thought the Jesus chance that you mentioned, it was quite a difficult chance that, it was a bit of a half chance, but I thought it was I don't think it was that lucky. I thought Romero, the deflection off Romero was just bad defending, really. I think Gary Neville said it on the telly. Just not great defending, just put his leg out, keeper no chance. Saka obviously loves that position, doesn't he, where he comes in off the right and he opens his body up, sees the goal, and he's going to have a pop, isn't he? So, we deserved it though. I thought we were on top still. I thought we started like Neil said. I thought we started all right, and we more than deserved to be, to get that goal.
Right then, I'm looking at my phone there. Apparently, my invite to this went to Neil's spam. I've just got that through. It went to my spam, mate. I'm still waiting. 32 minutes, fluff chance. Jesus spurns a golden opportunity to put us 2-0 up after receiving a ball from Vicario in his own box. Maddison is caught in possession by Jesus. However, we just couldn't put it to bed. 38 minutes, Raya. Oh, what a save, Jay. He earned his money that moment, didn't he?
Yeah, scooped it out. Great save. I don't think Johnson really connected with the ball as well as he wanted to, but great save, to be fair. Can't fault him for that. Yeah,
he looks quite a good keeper in those positions, but as I say, the hype around Raya and basically who's going to get the #1 shirt is just overwhelming at the minute. It's kind of borderline ridiculous, but we'll talk about that again in a minute. 42 minutes, the visitors recycle the ball. Maddison cuts the ball back for Son. He's a hell of a player, isn't he, Lauren? I hate to say it. I used to get annoyed when him and Kane got their partnership together, but there's another partnership forming now. Maddison and Son, they seem to be on the same page, on the same wavelength, and it's going to do Tottenham proud, which we don't like.
For sure. No, he's definitely stepped up, and he's really grown into that captaincy role. I think he's leading the team very well. Look, I hate speaking so positively about them, but there's just a good vibe with them at the moment. The team, they really seem to be gelling. It's almost everything that we're not at the moment, It was I wouldn't say it was a great goal. It was a good finish. Maddison and Son both played very, very well, but Bukayo Saka got done way too easy there, and it just left the defense a bit vulnerable, and Raya didn't do much really to stop it. Look, it is what it is. I think it was a goal that probably could have been stopped, but two great players who, they did what we failed to do, and that was be cynical and take the chances that were presented to them, unfortunately. But yeah, it was a decent goal for them for sure, and Son's quality can't be overlooked.
Right, the next talking point was Arsenal screamed for a penalty as White's shot from a corner comes off the arm of Romero. Let's just go for it. We'll start with you, Neil. Penalty or not?
Seen them not giving, but penalty for me. Because it was in the direction of going in the net and there was an arm in the way. So that, by the letter of the law, that's penalty. It doesn't matter how close it was. It stopped the ball from going in the net. Penalty.
Jay? Penalty for you?
100% penalty. Neil described it perfectly. Definite penalty. They did absolutely stonewall.
I think the thing...
If that was against us, you couldn't have any complaints. You couldn't say that we've been done by the ref there. So honestly, I didn't even see the why. Okay, yeah, it was a bit close, but come on. it's a goal, isn't it, if it goes in? So yeah, definite penalty.
I think, Lauren, that the referees they're going to cause major problems this season because it's all down to interpretation. I thought straight away penalty, but then you've got all this natural arm movement and the defender going to block the ball, and his arm wasn't in a particularly sort of unnatural position. And I did wonder when it was going on, is it or isn't it? There's a lot of confusion, and the refs are going to have to jump on this and try and sort their shit out, to be honest.
Look, I think we saw it in the Champions League as well. It's not just an issue in this league. It's a massive issue in football globally at the moment as well. The lack of clarity regarding or surrounding the handball situation. I think honestly, just make it simple. If the ball hits the hand, just give a penalty. Then no one will complain. No one will complain. Obviously, there's going to be situations where it's unfair, it's harsh, but the way that it's going at the moment, it's hard to be objective about it. And for me, it was 100% penalty. To be honest, I was absolutely raging that Ben White was denied a goal. I think he deserved on the day.
Nice.
I thought he played really well. I thought he deserved it. So I mean, if you look at it anyway, really, the ball was going in, regardless of how close the hand was, where the hand was in relation to his body. For me, it was a clear-cut penalty. And like Jay said, if that's given against you, what are you going to say? Okay, he was an inch too close to the ball. Suck it up. It hit the hand. The hand denied a goal. The hand denied a goal. It's really frustrating. But yeah, overall, I thought the refereeing on the day was actually pretty okay. I have to say, I think it says a lot when we're complaining more about the performance of our team than the refs. I think, which probably reflects the pretty low standards that we have for refereeing. But anyway, I thought overall it was pretty decent. And yeah, for me, it's hard to argue against it. Obviously, you can see the other side of the argument, but again, that's not a decision that should really be existing at the moment. It should either be a penalty or not once the ball hits the hand, and there should be no interpretation of it, because look, it just creates an unnecessary dialogue around it, creates unnecessary speculation or heightened emotions around an already very emotional game, and it's unnecessary. Just if the ball hits a hand, it's a penalty. That's it.
Well,
that's my feeling towards it.
VAR sort of checked it and referred it to the ref.
Yeah.
I mean, shows you the level of confusion. Neil, before the end of the season, we're going to get another one of these, and it's not going to be given. That's how bad the standard of refereeing is and the confusion. Do you feel?
100%. I mean, it's going to happen to us. It always happens to us. I'm surprised we've had a few decisions go away for a change this season. I'm shocked, actually, stunned. We had a goal that was potentially offside that was given, and then we had this penalty thing. And the other thing that is really confusing is this offside thing, where who are we playing against? God, I've completely forgotten the team now. God, this is my head going.
It's all fingers, toes, and shoelaces, isn't it?
It was blocked, yeah. But it was blocked by their player. It's come off their player, and yet it's still offside. I'm sorry.
Everton,
there we go, Everton. Thank you. If the opposition player, it comes off them last, for me, that's not offside. Maybe I'm old school. I don't know, but maybe I'm old school. If it comes off our player, fine. But and then they're talking about, was it deliberate or not deliberate? What are you talking about? It's come off their player. How can it be offside? It doesn't matter what the situation is. Very similar to what Lauren was saying about the penalty and what Jay's saying. If at the end of the day, if the ball is going in the net and the hand gets in the way by the opposition player, it is a penalty. It doesn't matter if it's 5 millimeters close or 10 yards close or apart. It's that's it. It's as simple as that. So for me, the refereeing, especially with this time added on as well that they're doing, there's going to be issues with that, I'm sure. The time wasting thing and adding on time, and we're getting like 10 minutes, 12 minutes extra time at the end of the games. I think there's going to be more controversies with that. It's never going to end. And as an Arsenal fan, we've been suffering for decades. We've had these issues going on. And do you know what? I just expect it every game anyway. But I always go in and tell all my mates, we're playing 12 men. We've got the 11 players and the officials. So I don't see anything different, Tom. It's not going to change, unfortunately. And it's not just us, to be fair. As a football fan, you've got other teams that suffer. And what annoys me is, why don't they get their, as you said, shite together? Because sometimes it can be the difference of a team getting relegated or not. It can be the difference of a team getting to top 4 or not, winning a cup or not, winning the Premiership or not, or gaining promotion or not. It's big stakes. This is not little fry. It's big stakes. For some clubs, down in the lower leagues, it could mean, that they could essentially avoid, be up playing and able to financially sustain themselves for another year. That's how important it is.
Yeah.
Because they don't have any money, and if they get a decision which is ridiculous go against them, they don't get the promotion, that could cost them financially. It's that important. I don't know why there isn't a sterner body looking at what the referees are doing, why there's not open communication when the referees are talking to the VAR people on VAR or wherever, and then all the audience can hear. We talked about this challenge. Maybe each team should be given 2 or 3 challenges per matches to try and make it a little bit more fairer. You know, there's so many ways that it can be addressed, and it's just not, and it just seems to be getting worse and worse. So yeah, for me, sadly, there's going to be more this season, I think.
Well, we've seen some crap decisions because the Martinelli goal that was ruled out, which I saw nothing wrong with, and then we had all that hubbub with Gabriel when he was kind of stopped his feet, but his head and his shoulders went forward, and it's just like, you know, it's getting mental. Anyway, let's go on to the goal. 54 minutes, Saka makes no mistake from the spot, but Spurs came back really quickly, and it was Jorginho who was the culprit. Unfortunately for him, someone of his class, Jay, he should have just. He seemed to be hanging his leg back with the ball. He got caught with the ball with his leg extended backwards, and it just got pinched off him. Really unfortunate, but it kind of, for me, it changed the whole performance of the game. Suddenly, we've been in the lead, and then we're drawing again, and it just took the edge off it for me.
Yeah, I mean, none of us are going to go in hard on Jorginho. You know, he's obviously not played that much. He was obviously not the sharpest he could be, and they capitalized. And I mean, as soon as Son got the ball, you knew it was a goal, didn't you? You know, the keeper just no chance, and you fear the worst at that point. You fear, you know, because there's still plenty of time to lose the game as well as win it. So yeah, feared the worst. I'm not going to go too hard on Jorginho. Just look, he hasn't played much. I think he's going to get a bit more game time now because obviously they're going to have to manage Rice. I know you said that he might not be out, but there must be a slight issue there. So he's gonna be used. Thomas Partey's just non-existent in the minute. And we all know how good a player he is and how an effective sort of dynamic midfielder he can be, but we can't rely on him. And he's literally, I mean, I don't know if you guys have heard anything, but I haven't heard any rumor of any return date for him, which is obviously worrying. So Jorginho's the only sort of deep line midfielder we've got, and still a good player. You know, he's a good player, but I just hope Rice isn't injured, because we've said it before about Jorginho. He's effective in certain situations. He's sort of this season's Rob Holding, isn't he? He's like the closer. He's the player to bring on to close out a result, but he will get caught out, you know, from a what's the best way to say it? From more like a pace point of view, you know, whether it's sorting his feet out or recovery or dynamism. I suppose he's not at that stage of his career, is he? You know, on the ball he's great, and he can, his decision making, although not on Sunday in that situation that we're talking about, wasn't the best then, but normally he's really good at controlling the ball and controlling tempo of the game. But on this occasion he wasn't. So look, we're probably going to have to rely on him a bit more in the next few weeks.
Let's hope he doesn't get injured. We'll be right up the old poo creek.
It just
looked the paddle.
It looked awful, didn't it? It just, every time you look at it, it's just like, oh God, doesn't look good. But I'm sure he'll learn from it.
See, what I did was I actually paused the match before Tottenham scored and then zipped it forward a bit because it hurt me so much. I didn't want to see it. Right, let's get on to the match stats. We do Arsenal first, Spurs second. 13 shots apiece, actually. 6 on target for us, 5 for them. 46% possession for us, 54 for them. 377 passes for us, 449 for them. 84% pass accuracy for us. 85% for them. Not a lot in it really, but it was quite a tasty game as well, Lauren, because there was quite a few fouls. 12 for us, 19 for them. It's always a bit feisty, always a bit argy-bargy, isn't it?
Yeah, it was. I mean, objectively, it was probably a great game. I enjoyed 0 seconds of it. I just thought, God, I can't wait for this to be over. Can't wait for the next one to move on from this. Look, honestly, I think the win there was probably for the teams around us, Liverpool, Brighton, City. I think they probably looked at that and thought, yeah, that's a great result. Doesn't change that much in terms of Arsenal and Spurs. Neither of us really got a got a heads up or got the boost there. I think probably a better result for Spurs than us. They played well, we played horrendously. That's the difference. I think we still are the better team. We still have much better chance of going further than they do. Yeah, those injuries are getting worrying. But I did see something now. Look, how reliable is this? I don't know. Someone sitting in Barcelona reading tweets all day, so I don't know how genuine this is. But I did see that it looks like Trossard, Martinelli, Rice, Partey, and even who else went off injured was Vieira. All of them should be back for the City game, and I believe Martinelli and Partey have been training individually today as well. So positive, as long as they're not long-term injuries like the likes of Timber. Better than nothing. Obviously we have Brentford now in the cup tomorrow, and then Premier League, Champions League, and then we're facing City. It's a tough run, but that's kind of what we expected. There's no easy runs when you're in the Champions League, and yeah, it's tough. It's tough, but it's fine. We're staying positive. The injured players are coming back, still undefeated in the league. Yeah, let's trying to keep the positivity going. Sorry, I'm really trying here, guys.
You're doing a good job, because we're all a bit bamboozled by what we've seen, but it is what it is, and we've got to move on. And that's the thing. Pick yourself up and let's get cracking again, and let's find the proper fluent Arsenal, because that's what we want to see. We saw it in PSV, as we keep banging on about it, but we haven't seen it much this season. Right, Neil, let's come to you. Zenith Coins Player of the Match. Zenith Coins, beautiful coins they do, and you can look them up, zenithcoins.com. So this is what they've sent me to give to the player of the match. Who's yours, Neil?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's a tough one this week.
Only an Arsenal player, right?
Well, you can have who you like, really. I mean,
no, I'm never going to name a top player as a player of the match. I'm sorry, I don't. That ain't never happening. As long as I
think Madison's been linked with us enough that we can kind of give him.
No, I'm not doing it, Lauren.
Not.
Solid performance.
I can't. But yeah, solid performance. Do you know what? Oh, it's so hard. I'm just trying to think of all the players now and what happened. I'll actually say Saliba, and I'm saying that a little bit.
Beautiful tackle as well, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean,
outstretched leg.
Amazing. I mean, he just makes everything look so easy. But I'm just going on what Jay says. I think Jay hit the nail on the head earlier when he said, "Look, we kind of highlight that player and not victimize him, but it feels that way. But actually, there's other players on the pitch that may have not done so well. But unfortunately, it's always going to be the Eddies. It's always going to be the Havertz that's going to get the attention or be the scapegoats in a patch." I think he's right. I think it wasn't a great performance. I think, Lauren, what you said, I think they played brilliantly, but we played poorly. So that tells me that's quite encouraging, because if their brilliant play can only muster a 2-2 draw with us, when we're on fire, we're going to destroy them. So I can see us absolutely taking them to just running right with them when we on the return leg. So don't worry, we're still winning the double, by the way. So keep your heads up. So
Saliba for Neil. Jay, what about you? It's a tough pick.
Yeah, I think the Jesus maybe. I mean, it's just slim pickings, isn't it? Probably Jesus. I'll give it to him.
We're gonna split. I can see us all splitting.
Yeah.
What about you, Lauren?
I actually think it's a pretty easy. Well, for me, it was an easy decision. I thought Ben White played very well. He didn't play well, but he's been our most consistent player, and I don't think he did much wrong. He was the one who got us the penalty. What's our right back doing? Get in that attacking position, winning those penalties. I thought he was really, really good. He got very high up the pitch. Again, there was a lack of that presence in the box to make use of his crosses to make use of his really good runs he was making. He's been so solid for us. I think every game he gets overlooked, but he hasn't delivered less than a 7.5 week in, week out. And, he's one of those players who's been heavily rotated. He's playing, right centre back for us. Now he's back at right back. He's so solid. He's so reliable. And I think, even in the midst of a poor performance, I don't think he did much wrong. And I think he was just unlucky that, the 10 other players around him didn't really step up to the levels that we expected them. And yeah, for me, it's an easy decision. I thought Saliba as well, some great tackles. But I just think Ben White probably deserves a shout, probably deserves it more, because throughout the whole season that's been so up and down, he's been solid week in, week out, and I just think he probably deserves a shout, because he's one of those players that's so easy to overlook because we're so used to his his standard being delivered and not really dropping. So yeah, for me, easy decision, Ben White there.
So Jay goes for Jesus, and Lauren goes for Ben White. And me too. I'm going to go for Ben White. I just thought out of the slim pickings that we had, he just delivered a different level to some of the others, but it was a really tough sort of pick. We'll just go back to something Jamie Carragher on the football goalkeeping situation. During last season's title running, Arsenal wilted during the pressure moments. The margins were small in some of those games in which they dropped critical points, and Arteta will have analysed in depth how and where they could have been better. He says, hey, let's do the Scouse accent. Hey, the goalkeeping position, I can't. The goalkeeping position was one of those areas. When you have a studious coach such as Arteta, who is always demanding more from himself and everyone around him, it's unsurprising that he took a chance to sign Real when he became available. I think this is an argument that's just going to go on and on. The wheres, the whys, the hows. But the fact remains, Podders, that we've got two excellent goalkeepers. So let's look forward in the EFL, as you mentioned, Lauren. We've got Brentford, and then we've got Bournemouth in the Premiership. How do we feel, guys, about those? We'll go with Neil first. Brentford first, and then Bournemouth, if you want to give us a little nugget. We should win both, shouldn't we?
Of course, we're going to win both.
There he is, Mr. Optimism.
We're going to win both. Come on, look, we're going to see some rotation. Well, I hope we do. I want to see some of the youngsters start tomorrow, and I want to see them do well, and I think they will.
I don't think we've got a choice, Neil. They're falling like bricks.
yeah, true. That is true. But you can see Ramsdale coming in between the sticks. You can see Kiwior playing. Tomiyasu will play. I think he might keep a couple just for the senior stability, if you like. But I think we'll see quite a few changes. Nelson for sure. If Emil Smith-Rowe does not play, I will personally get him his ticket out of the club, because this guy is so deserving to play for Arsenal, and I want him to become a legend at our club. If he doesn't play tomorrow, there is something seriously wrong. So I'm hoping, especially because he made a cameo and a good one too against PSV, I'm hoping that he's going to get minutes tomorrow. I hope he plays as much as he can. I've got so much time for Emil Smith-Rowe, so I can see some wholesome changes tomorrow. I think we will win. No game is easy. I'm never going to say that. But I think we'll do enough to get a 3-1 result. And I think we'll concede just because there will be some changes at the back. 3-1. You want a prediction for Bournemouth?
Good. Yeah, let's have it.
Oh, Bournemouth, we're just going to be back to our best. We're going to be back to how we started off last season, just flying through everything, does injuries or not, and we're gonna do a job. 3-0 away.
I think Nelson should get a run out as well.
100%.
Yeah, Emil Smith-Rowe, Nelson on the other side. We should see a bit of a change up. Jay, what's your thoughts on those two games? Piece of cake. I was going to say something else there, but I'll keep it clean for you, Podders.
Yeah, I just want to reiterate, well, sort of back up what Neil was saying, really. Smith-Rowe definitely deserves a few minutes. And that left eight, that position's there for him, isn't it? It's there. He just needs to, if he does get the chance, which I'm sure he will tomorrow, he just needs to really step up and take it, because it's still open, that spot. There's not many spots in the team where there's a debate really who can come in. So yeah, I reckon it's going to be a bit closer tomorrow. I think we'll just squeak it 2-1. But the Bournemouth...
Hey, look, what's he wearing? Hold on a minute, Jay. What's that?
It's Marine shirt.
Oh, right.
It's the one they wore against Tottenham in the FA Cup.
Hey, it's got enough badges on it, isn't it, mate?
Yeah,
it's good to have Paul Mack with us.
Thank you. Good game at Marine tonight as well. They beat Ratcliffe 3-2. The two teams at the top of the division, so entertaining fixture all round.
I'll tell you what, you can see you coming with that top, can't you? Hey, they all like that. They all just a sea of gold. Is it gold or yellow? What is it?
It's gold and black, isn't it? Yeah, it's a recreation of a kit they wore in the 1930s. It was a special one-off thing.
All right. We're coming back to you, Jay, for your thoughts on the two games, as we said. Bit of wholesale changes, maybe.
Yeah, a bit closer for the Brentford game, but I think Bournemouth, I'm with Neil. I think we're going to batter them 10-0. 10-0 Arsenal. 10-0?
Come on. Give your head a wobble.
Well, Newcastle turned up. What Was it 8-0 against Sheffield United?
Yeah.
So there's not too much difference between Bournemouth and Sheffield United. So and win much better than Newcastle. So 10-0.
10-0. I'm going for that. Yeah, I'm having some of that. What would be my prediction for? I reckon it's going to be with Brentford. It's going to be 4-0, and I think for Bournemouth we could even rattle in 5, Lauren. What's
I
she got?
mean,
Is she on mute?
no, I'm trying to comprehend this. I mean, after the attack and display we saw this weekend, I think you're all very hopeful. But I take any amount of goals to get those 3 points. I'm happy with. I don't care how the goals go in, who scores. I think there are 2 games we should win, though. I mean, just regardless of rotation tomorrow, I think we should have enough there. Great players fighting for spots, like the lads both said. So, yeah. Very excited actually to watch them play and see the performances they put in to try and establish themselves in the team, because it's all to play for at the moment, but I do think there are 2 games we should win. To be honest, I'm more okay, whatever happens tomorrow, I think we'll get over. But if we don't win against Bournemouth, I think that's a massive issue.
It'd be nice to just blow the cobwebs out, won't it, from
Absolutely.
this, or get rid of the taste.
Absolutely.
I think there's a lot of angry players after Sunday, and I think it's going to be a reaction to that. That's why I'm hopeful for the next 2 games. And notwithstanding that, we have to beat Bournemouth, because if we drop points against Bournemouth, then we got City after that in the Prem next. Boy, come on, that's going to be too much pressure. So Bournemouth is a must-win tomorrow. Obviously, always nice to progress in the cups, but I just think we've got a lot of angry players. I mean, I was looking at Rice's face on the bench. I know he'd gone off because he was, there was an injury. He was fuming. He was absolutely livid. And if that's coming from someone who's got leadership qualities, that's going to spew onto the rest of the players. I think we're going to see a reaction. I think we're going to have the next 2 games at least are going to be good for us. I think, anyway.
Paul, we must celebrate your win, because they're rare, aren't they? They're like buses. They come along very rarely when you expect them. So we'll give you that.
Thank you.
And healthy win as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a good performance. It's good to see Calvert-Lewin back to form as well. Scored that was his first away goal for Everton from open play since we beat Tottenham 1-0 when they played at Wembley about 3 seasons ago. So that was good to see as well. But yeah, much more encouraging performance. And I think we've softened Brentford up for you for tomorrow night. They're going to be shell-shocked after our majestical display then on Saturday.
Yeah, pretty good. Right. Just recap before we are very close to hopping out here on the very last It's an Arsenal Thing podcast. Paul, tell us your thoughts on that Spurs-Arsenal game before we close down.
Yeah, but what's quite strange is I've read you read all the social media comments, you read the stuff in the press, you read the TV coverage. I was actually surprised to find that Arsenal drew the game, because all the stuff we read kind of indicated Tottenham had somehow won the match, that they were the best team, that they dominated things. And so when you double check the scores, hang on, it was 2-2. Tottenham didn't actually win the game, guys. Okay, they came back from being 2 goals twice, but they didn't win the game. And at no stage did they ever look like winning the game, because certainly Arsenal, from what I saw, were the better team. So I've been quite surprised by the reaction to the result, because to me, a couple of key things went against Arsenal. The injury to Rice at half-time made a massive difference, because you're losing such I think, as Neil mentioned there before, he's such a massive influence on the team that to lose you almost your star player practically at that stage of a North London derby is always going to be very crucial. So I mean, I think from the Arsenal perspective, if you're ahead twice in a derby game and you let that lead slip twice, you have to be frustrated with that. I think in particular the second Tottenham equaliser, when it came so close to Arsenal's taking the lead from the penalty, I mean, that was the moment there to calm things down, shut Tottenham off for a few minutes, re-establish dominance of the game, and then wear them down and go for the third, because Tottenham do give you a chance to score against. So I think that would have been, from Arteta's point of view, quite disappointing the way they didn't hang on to the lead. But it's I think we said in the pod last week, this Tottenham team is a better Tottenham team than the side you faced twice last season. It's not too bad. It's not too bad to get a point here. But I think, as Neil referenced there before, this now makes the game against City really, really important for Arsenal, because that was 6 points drop last season. So if you can get a home win from that game, that's 3 points pulled back that weren't gained last season. So that's going to be crucially important as well. And I think with Rodri being suspended for that game, I think that gives Arsenal a huge chance to maybe, do what they did in the Charity Shield and show that they can beat City not once in the season, but twice in the season, and possibly 3 times if things go their way.
Amen, Vicar. Amen. Lauren, before we go, the WSL, what have we got lined up next for the girls?
Yeah, so the season finally gets underway on Sunday. Yeah, Sunday all the games kick off. So we are taking on Liverpool. We are playing in the Emirates. I'm actually going to the match. I'm super excited about it. But yeah, it's going to be a good season for sure. Obviously, I'm not sure if you guys saw, but we had another international break. So the England women were playing today. Oh, I mean, all the nations were playing today, but the England women were playing today, a month after the World Cup. We all know the crazy situation with the women's football scheduling. But yeah, no, finally the WSL gets underway. It's going to be a great season. We have no distractions in Europe this year. Let's hope everyone can stay fit. Obviously, we have a lot more squad depth. We got some amazing players over the summer. Feeling very hopeful for it. Feeling very, very hopeful for it. And I think, first day, Emirates Stadium, hopefully Beth Mead's back in an Arsenal shirt, and I'm expecting nothing less than a very comfortable win. Obviously, Liverpool are good, but we're much, much better. So, yeah, buzzing for it. Really, really looking forward to it.
Well, we spoke about that drop in standard after the first sort of
Yeah.
bank of teams, and Liverpool were in that, unfortunately for them, or fortunately from Paul Mack's point of view. Podders, it's been an absolute pleasure to come and talk to you about the Arsenal every week, and it's sad to say we're going. We can't say we're not coming back, but it is what it is. And all I want to do is thank the Podcateers. There's so many people to thank. Silent Dave, we've got Connor, we've got Isaiah, all on the audio versions. Jay, who's been an absolute brick and has become a good friend. Lauren, whose knowledge is so in depth on both sides of the men's and the women's game. Our friend Neil Shah, who has come on, and he's an absolute pleasure to have. And finally, Paul Mack. It's been a pleasure, mate, to have you on the podcast. The general knowledge that you've got of the game, your understanding of it, your objectivity, and it's saved us drowning in self-praise, which has been brilliant. All I can say is North London is still red, even after a 2-2 draw. I thank everyone involved, and maybe we'll be back, I'm not sure. But you've been absolutely brilliant, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart. Cheers, guys.
Goodbye. Take care.